This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
All right, Kessler, as I said, already in the house, will join us at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour. I'm sure he'll have... Kessler strikes me as someone who might be the cranky neighbor.
Who would have thunk that?
You know, he plays this character on TV.
Right.
That, I love everybody, and we're all in this together, and we're one big happy family. But I sense he could be the guy. Stop grabbing the basket. Stop the basketballs from coming into my yard. It's annoying me. Don't you think?
Shades drawn, lights off on Halloween.
That's it.
Yeah.
That wouldn't shock me at all, because there's 2 sides to him. Always has been.
There's a lot of layers.
All right, where do you want to start?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Maybe a 2-on-1. Now it's a 2-on-2 as Hartman rumbles in left side to his backhand. Hartman cut out in front. Rebound. He scores! Ryan Hartman with a $1:15 to go.
Or did he?
Has given the Wild a 3-2 lead in Game 5.
Your coach's challenge. The play was offside at 119. No goal.
As loud as this building has been tonight.
And it hurts to just hear it again.
Yeah. I thought somebody said there was an oh no.
There was, yeah.
Earlier or later?
I think that was Tom Reed, yeah.
Was that Reed? Okay.
You know what? It might have been Joe.
I think
Faunus, I'm sure, is listening.
I was told it was
text.
Joe. I don't know for sure, but whatever.
And Ryan Carter said the same thing on TV.
Yeah.
Because they had the first review. That, of course, was Ryan Hartman's goal with like a minute and 15 left. I mean, the game's over.
Yeah, the game's over.
Wild are coming back here 3-2. And they do the first review for goaltender interference. Did he kick it the whole bit? And that was obviously concluded that it was good. And then Carter was right on it, too, and said, I bet they're going to challenge if it's offsides. And they did, and it was. And just 2 days after getting replay right for the Timberwolves, the Vegas Knights got replay right and saved their series, perhaps.
Can I ask you a question? I think this might have been raised yesterday. The Vegas, the coaching staff, or whoever they use to help them make the decisions on these appeals.
Yeah.
They had the added benefit, right? The extra time.
They did.
In part because the first challenge had to be examined and explored, correct?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Because
now,
that
it may not have mattered because they probably would. You got nothing to lose with a minute to go, right? A minute and change. You're probably going to appeal it regardless, but they did have extra time to break it down frame by frame, Zapruder film-like fashion. And I was really feeling good about my prediction that they were going to win at that point. And then I think we lost in overtime.
We did. So we're down 3-2, Game 6 tomorrow night back here, St. Paul, 6:30. So after a bunch of late games and
we're not going to be used to that. I hope that
Wolves games tonight.
If we come out sluggish, that'll be the reason given. We're not used to starting playing that early.
But it's like 4:30 Vegas time.
That's right.
So they'll be even more messed up.
I think part of the reason there was so much anger on the offside, Nyquist was the skater offside, correct?
Yeah.
Is of course, Nyquist, because he's been
not very good.
Not a factor, basically, since the acquisition.
And they gave up a second-round pick.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So if it had been somebody who was, more accomplished, I don't think some people would make as big a deal as, of course, Nyquist. Yeah, what's he done since he got here? And now he rips our heart out with that deal. And by the way, do we know the nature of the Gustafsson illness? Was it just an upset stomach? That kind of thing?
Here's what John Hines said. Don't blink.
Yeah, no, it was just something came up during the game.
That answer your question?
Maybe I just had bathroom problems.
It's possible. That's what Luka
right?
had.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Luka was battling.
The word is Gus Bus is expected to start tomorrow night.
That's what Hines said to reporters, including Russo, when the team landed back in Minneapolis a little bit earlier today. That was Game 5 in the desert. Game 5 on the West Coast tonight, right here on the Fan. Parker and Max will take over at 7 o'clock for an extended pregame show tonight, as the Wolves can eliminate the Los Angeles Lakers with a victory tonight. Finchie, what's the team's mindset?
Same mood every day, which is what you want at this time of the year. You know, obviously locked in. Practices have been good. Game plan execution's been good. I thought we got a little loose in Game 4 on some things we've been really good at, so we need to go back and look at tightening that up.
The Lakers, Dan, are 5.5-point favorites tonight at Crypto.com Arena.
Do we call that bulletin board material?
It's a big number. It's a big number.
Well, I mean, again, I certainly can. I'm not surprised they're favorites, right? I mean, once again, just as was the case in Game 2, it's not they kind of have to win. They have to win, right? Or they're done. I'm looking at the scores of the games thus far in the postseason, and Game 1 we held them to 95. Game 2, which they won, they only scored 94. We just couldn't score, right? Our offense had some
Correct.
issues.
First time the Lakers won a game scoring fewer than 100 points all year, I believe.
Game 3, 104. Now, Game 4 was more their speed in terms of scoring. I think it was the finals, what was it, 116, 113?
Yeah,
113. But they've been a team that rarely was scoring below 100 points, and so the defense has been good. My guess is when Finchie's talking about tightening up some stuff, and also listening to Johnny, it's the defense. That's what he's looking for. Is my guess is he looks at that total and says, yeah, we beat them, but I don't like giving up 113 points. That's more than we should give up. I don't want to have to depend that much on our offense. So let's batten down the hatches a little bit. Let's tighten that whole thing up. And we'll see if the game follows the pattern recently of last 4 or 5 minutes. The big substitution pattern is Rudy goes to the bench and Naz Reid, whether he's played well earlier or not so well earlier, is on the court and ends up being an instrumental factor down the stretch. That's been the pattern the last couple games. Now, it may depend on other lineups, matchups, the score of the game, etc., but that's been the recent trend.
Wolves, Lakers, the second.
How much, in all honesty, I don't. You should be getting greedy. I think you want an you should be asking for an exclamation point, because
to win tonight.
If you win tonight,
I'm with you.
If you win tonight,
yes.
And I'm not saying they're complete failures if they don't, but I'm saying if you win tonight, you are not only advancing, you are making a pretty declarative statement.
You are
you not?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question about that.
I told you. I mean, I'm going to be like John Halliburton if the Wolves win tonight. I'm going to be like, yesterday it was John Morant after he makes a three.
Right.
It's John Halliburton now.
You've got your list of people that then you're going to be taunting, but you at least will be doing it not face-to-face, I don't think.
Oh, no, in much more gutless fashion.
Well,
hiding behind the screen.
Make that argument, yeah.
I might do some of it face-to-face.
Well, that's true, too. You might.
The Wolves are the second game tonight. The first game also could be a series ender because Golden State will be in Houston, gunbelt tight.
Yeah.
Looking to knock out the Rockets. The Rockets are a 4.5-point favorite.
You see what Denver did last night?
I did. Jamal Murray was very good.
Jamal Murray, again, we all know the story on Denver. You know Joker's going to be good, although by his standards, he had just a yawner triple-double, but his overall numbers were down a bit. But Murray's the guy that makes them dangerous, right? If he's healthy and going and scoring, he's a great scorer when he's going well. I thought the Clippers had a great chance to win the series. They still can extend it, obviously, but it's part of the reason I refuse to just dismiss Denver, despite the fact that their defensive numbers have been putrid, is they got the pedigree. They've got, when they're both going, and Murray's going right now, they've got two great players. I'm not saying the Wolves should be afraid of them, but I'm saying Denver, I think, is still formidable enough. And then it would be, so the winner of that series plays Okie City, correct? Okie City's just waiting.
Yes.
Correct.
Twins lose yesterday 2-1. There was a long rain delay in Cleveland for rain that never really came. Everybody was bitter about that.
Yeah, right.
Which was very funny. And Lavelle's like naming meteorologists in Cleveland on Twitter yesterday. Basically, like there's some guy that dictates whether or not the game gets played, and apparently he's very jumpy.
Welcome to the world of weather terror.
Exactly.
Is Lavelle just noticed this trend?
I think he has.
Apparently.
I think he has. So the Twins, after an onslaught or a deluge, to use a weather term, the other night when they scored 11 runs, could only get one across the plate, and they end up losing. So as you look at the standings today, they are 5.5 games back of the Tigers still, and I guess 3.5 games back of the Guardians. So another game tonight. Rocco, after the game?
We know it's not good baseball.
Not really.
Well,
but makes sense.
they've and we got Gleeman coming in tomorrow to talk baseball.
Gleeman's coming in tomorrow at 4.
My guess is we'll probably talk some Wolves, too, because he's a big Wolves rube.
That's the thinking.
Do a combo platter with him.
That's
good.
the thinking.
Good to catch up with him. All right, I got a couple texts I want to bounce off of before we prepare for Kessie, Special K, Pat Kessler. He will join at about 5:30. Stay tuned.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest, and the final keyword of the evening on this Wednesday is cash. Go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword cash.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
To eat right as the music is starting, you know? That cardinal rule about eating on the air.
We're not supposed to, allegedly.
I try not to. But this might be one of the exceptions. The Nyquist bitterness continues via the text line.
Yeah.
All he has to do, or all he had to do, is either straddle the blue line or drag his back foot. You learned that in squirts.
You learned it in mites, actually, as a hockey dad of the two of us.
Guy blew it. Yeah. Well, again, it sounds like, though, here's what's the most interesting thing that we, I think, got from Walls. And I know this might not get headlines because, well, it's, I guess you could say it's a little bit more nuanced. And everybody wants, okay, I want the name of the one guy responsible for the play, correct?
Always.
And he didn't do it that way, right? He basically said in a sense, you could say he blamed 4 different players.
It was a total system failure.
A total system failure. Yeah. You're right. Is kind of what he went with there, and I thought that was interesting. Again, I'll defer to him, but he doesn't want to just put it on Merrill because a lot of people have put it simply on Merrill. And he is saying, he said he looked at it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times today, that whole stretch, and that he thinks it was, like you say, a total system failure. I mean, I think it's fair to say if a player a would-be goal scorer ends up that alone in that situation, you go, that can't happen. Right?
Terrible.
It just cannot happen. One thing is, it's congested, and a guy still gets a shot off, and makes a good play, or it caroms off somebody, whatever the case may be.
Or like Game 4, you mess up a pass, right, and the puck's fluttering, and then it's a quick turnover.
But that clean?
I know.
Come on, man.
It was like the 4 Nations. It was like Connor McDavid. Remember, we said the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and in that case, it's even more egregious because it's Connor McDavid, maybe the best player in the world. Yeah, while Walls was talking, the first answer to your question at 3:30. Like, we needed him in studio we needed him doing the Kenny Smith. We needed him doing, the Mike Fratello of pointing all of it out because it was a hockey clinic on all the different things he felt like needed to go a different direction, and none of them did.
Yeah, tomorrow is game day. So it might even be worth pulling out tomorrow that answer, the answer to that question, because people are still going to be talking about it, I think, tomorrow, because it was a really good, I thought it was a really good hockey primer. Where was I? Oh, speaking of Dan Minnesota, speaking of replay, I honestly can't remember. Why didn't the Lakers challenge the Luka fall/trip? Were they out of challenges? The answer is yes.
Yes.
They were out of challenges. And it does underscore an opinion I'm coming to that I don't know that there's any circumstance, if I were an NBA coach, under which I would ever challenge in the first half of a game. And I know sometimes it's, no, we got like gradations of how certain we are, the people who are in that second row, and 10 is it's a deadlock, it'll get reversed, and this is a 10. I still, I think I'd want to hold on to it. I really do.
For sure.
I mean, the fact that you didn't have, because now, what's interesting is, would it have been overturned? Just because the 2-minute report indicated that a foul should have been called, I don't know that it's a guarantee that on the spot.
Yeah, I don't know the rules
it would have
well
been
enough.
reversed necessarily. Is it a different person interpreting? I don't even know. And by the way, who's like Joe Dumars is kind of the dean of discipline, right? He's taken over the Pelicans.
He is.
So who's the dean of discipline right now? Do we know? Does the NBA have one? He was good at that, I thought.
Yeah. I'm guessing they probably have an interim
I wonder
one.
who it is. In any case,
they weren't thinking they needed to use it on a player's dad.
No.
But they might have to.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they have an interim one.
I hope they do. I think this should be about the commissioner.
Yeah.
But I think somebody said it. I think he wants to be the players' friends too much. I really do. I'm not asking him to be a despot. And I know it's a league that's known for the partnership, right? They pride themselves on, we're not the NFL.
They're very collaborative.
We're very collaborative, but I hope there's a hammer that's brought down here pretty quickly.
Well, imagine, to your point on the challenges, imagine if Finchie had challenged something in the first half or even the second half and they lost it. And they wouldn't have had it.
Wouldn't have had it
for the LeBron
the
play.
Edwards play. Yeah.
Who knows?
Think about it. Yeah.
Oh,
so
I have.
I would just, I don't know. I see it too often. And I think it's the emotion of the moment.
Yes.
You're annoyed as a coach. They blew that call. I know I'm right.
You want to back your player.
And I know if I'm right, we're going to get another one, and I'll save that other one.
Yep.
But how many times does it happen where, for whatever reason, we didn't even talk about this. Who was the Yankee? Was it Judge who hit this prodigious, like 2 weeks ago? He hits this prodigious tape measure home run down the left field line. It's called foul. It is clear as day on replay that it was a fair ball. It was a home run. And it did not get overturned. And to this day, I haven't heard an explanation but it is a reminder, those who say get it right. And by the way, the Edwards call, they did get it right. Replay did work in that case, but
Hartman last night, they got right.
Hartman, they got right.
I should say Nyquist.
Well, Nyquist, yeah, unfortunately. But I mean, I still haven't heard an explanation about how on replay they blew that to the degree that they did, because you could isolate it on TV and see the ball is to the right of the foul pole down the left field line. It's very bizarre. Did you see that play?
I didn't.
That home run?
No.
It was bizarre. It was very strange. And, the Yankees kind of lost their mind, but understandably, because it was so I don't know what they're looking at sometimes, but it's what the reminder is, that you can be sure as hell, whether it's even in an NBA game with a challenge system, and you still, for whatever reason, you might not get the call you want, and then if at the end you're left without a timeout or a challenge to do anything about it, your guy Tibbs in the meat grinder, because he had 2 injured players sitting at the scorer's table as the Knicks the Knicks were allowing the Pistons to basically get in winning position in the final 2 minutes of what was supposed to be the knockout game in New York for the Knicks to eliminate the Pistons. And he didn't want to take the timeout because he only had one left in that case.
Yep.
But there was no stoppages, unfortunately. He didn't want to foul on purpose because they were in the bonus.
I think they had one to give.
Oh, they did?
That was the discussion this morning.
I thought they didn't have one to give. Well, in any case, he absolutely waited to, because then he eventually did, I think was it like 30 seconds to
27 seconds.
They had at least two
Brunson and Hart.
Horrific possessions without those two.
Yep.
And so that's a different issue than what we were talking about regarding challenges. But it was not, I don't think it was a particularly good moment for Tibbs. And now that series goes back to Detroit 3-2.
Yep.
The Knicks still lead it, and they won there the last two times out. But now I think a lot of people would not be surprised if that series goes 7 games.
Last thing on the challenge situation, Finchie was on with PA, I think, on Monday, and he talked about that they ask the players, because he said, we try to keep our challenge as long as we can for obvious reasons. You might need it in the last minute.
Yes.
And imagine, if they didn't have it, he said, one thing we ask our players is don't put us in a bad situation because every player always thinks.
The twirling finger?
The finger twirl.
Yeah.
Every player always thinks it should be challenged.
Yeah.
Every time there's anything, they just twirl the finger. He says, don't put us in a situation where we've got to rush if you're not 100% sure. Because it does, depending on the situation, you only have 10 seconds, at most 30 seconds. The reason the Wolves got the last one was because they called it within 30 seconds of the Lakers calling a timeout. They had not called the timeout to challenge it. I think they would have. But I thought that was an insightful comment as we tell our guys, don't mess with us.
Well,
don't put us in a bad spot unless you're sure.
Yeah.
Because we can't mess around with this, especially in the playoffs.
I said, was it to you or to another guest, that you can make the argument that the Lakers should have immediately inbounded the ball. It's sort of the equivalent of the NFL play where you're getting to the line of scrimmage right away.
Was it a catch or not a catch? You got to run up and get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, is it fair to think they were going to anticipate that the call would be reversed? I don't know. But if you have any doubt in that situation, now maybe, again, it wouldn't have mattered because the Wolves was late enough in the game. They say we might as well we're calling the timeout regardless. We'll never know. But you inbound the ball and it's too late, right? At that point, there's no challenge that can be made. And we may be talking about a
pivotal
Game 5 series back to a pivotal Game 5.
Pivotal Game 5.
So I don't think we can. If the Wolves lose tonight, I don't think we can blame it on Nyquist. I don't think it'd be his fault. But we'll see.
I'm trying to think of a way, but no, I don't see one yet.
I think it's unlikely. Kessler's in the house, right? He's been here since what, 2?
I think earlier than that. I think he had lunch here.
Yeah, he might
with
have.
Common.
Surprised me. We've got the Bradshaw Bryan KFAN text line 64686. We got a lot of ground to cover with him, including a significant, he reminds us, anniversary to help educate the kids to a certain extent, and the first 100 days of the second Trump presidency. Lots of reviewing and evaluation going on there. It seems to be another one of those Sharks-Jets debates, but we'll get into all of that and more with our guy, Special K, right around.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
On the corner, stay tuned.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Pat Kessler. Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I can't trust Obama. He's an Arab.
Pat Kessler.
Tear down this wall.
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Pat Kessler.
And now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's our own
Pat Kessler.
Political Wonk.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
It's Channel 4's
Pat Kessler
with Dan Barrero on the Fan.
Special K is indeed back with us. We have a lot of ground to cover. I got to get to your cheat sheet, your outline. But I want to start with a quote from one of your favorite media foils.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
Ann Coulter.
Fantastic. Love Ann Coulter.
Did you read her tweet? Was today the 30th?
Let's hear it.
Is today 4/30?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Would it be possible to have a cabinet meeting without the Kim Jong-il style tributes? That's Ann Coulter asking.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. Did you watch or listen
to
the cabinet meeting today?
Saw it, yes.
I mean, it's almost meme-like.
It's theater.
Yeah, where you go from...
It's performance.
It's performative, no doubt about it, where you go from cabinet secretary to cabinet secretary, and they are all praising the dear leader. I think there's stuff that they've done that they could just say matter-of-factly, like, look what we got done.
Yes.
But it's we are so blessed to have you as president.
Dear leader.
Dear leader. I mean, I was dipping in and out of it because it was getting hard to listen to. But my guy Hegseth was outstanding. That's all I'm going to say.
What did he do?
And Rubio, too. I mean, these guys were in the mix of everything.
Do you think eventually, let's say... we know Trump's going to stay in office for another 4 years after this 4 years, at least. Uh-huh. So, but let's say 12 years from now. Mm-hmm. What are the Hegseth and Rubio books going to read like?
What does he have on them?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, I think I know what Hegseth does. I don't know what Rubio does.
Well, today he apparently, as the court order is beginning to expire to return this guy back to the United States. He is spoken with the El Salvadoran president, but he won't say what they talked about, either to the public or to the courts. So something's going, and this is the kind of stuff that was going on. And thank you, Mr. President, for finally standing up strong for America again. I find them kind of entertaining, but they go on for a couple, 3 hours. So, I thought it was interesting today. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I'm trying.
But Ann Coulter.
Yeah, that's, Well, she has kind of gone off on this administration a couple other times, has she not? There seems to be a schism between her and the president.
I find her to be, for years there's been one.
Actually, yeah, that goes back.
I find her to be refreshingly honest about a lot of stuff, whether you agree with what she's saying or not. I mean, that's the way she is.
I can't find it. I'll get to it. There was a quote. Do you know the quote I'm talking about? There was a quote today regarding the number of lives that would have been lost.
Oh, yes.
Do you know about this?
Yeah, this is from the Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Yes.
Bondi. She said that because of the fentanyl that they've stopped from coming over the border,
which I think we'll all laud,
it has saved 198 million lives.
I thought the number she gave was bigger than that.
298.
I thought it was like 300 million.
Well, it's
whatever it is.
It is as many as the United
States. What's the population of the United States of America right now?
350 million.
So how do you come? See, this is the problem. I'm going to turn off the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line now. But in all honesty, this is the stuff where I don't even know if you're a Trump fan that you can take this stuff seriously. When like I said, are there any of us who are pro? What's the drug that's being captured?
Fentanyl.
I don't think any of us are pro fentanyl.
No.
It's a dangerous drug, and it does take people's lives, right? But
it's terrible.
But why is it that you can't have a serious conversation about that as opposed to, well, whatever the number is, we're going to double it, triple it, quadruple it, and then take it to the 10th power because we can. Because there's really nobody who's going to stop us.
So 100 million isn't enough. 200 million sounds better, and 300 million sounds the best. But here's what I always think about with this. There is a genuine victory lap that President Trump laps that they can take because of what President Trump has done on immigration to stop people from coming across the border.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Well, no, what I'm saying is it's gone down almost
dramatically
to zero. Mm-hmm. Now, just a year ago, I think a year ago right about now, the number of undocumented immigrants coming across the border per month was, I'm going to say, 370,000 under Joe Biden. A year later, this month, it is 7,791. That is a fantastic accomplishment, no matter how you frame it. However, the second part of it, where people are being deported without due process, where people are being rounded up mistakenly. So there's two sides to almost everything. But I don't know why, instead of claiming that kind of credit, they don't focus on the immigration, which I think was President Trump's strongest campaign promise.
Yes.
And he's kept it.
I have no problem with that.
So far.
The Attorney General touted that the administration has seized 3,400 kilos of fentanyl since Trump took office. At that point, she then turns from Trump to face the camera, which saved, are you ready for this, media? She said, 258 million lives. That would be 75% of the U.S. population would be, according to the Attorney General, dead, if not for the moves made by this administration on fentanyl. I mean, what are we doing?
Why can't you just say thank you?
Well,
why? Come on, man. I mean, what, like Zelensky in the Oval Office?
Yeah, right.
Have you said thank you?
No, not yet.
And the answer is no.
Not yet. By the way, where are we on that? Is it a week any closer to a deal? Are they? Because the latest I'd read was Trump. They're thinking about walking away from it. They may be ready to wash their hands of the whole thing. Where are we on that story?
Well, when Pope Francis died and President Trump went to Rome, I thought there were some very remarkable, even moving pictures.
Yes, those pictures
of President Trump and Zelensky sitting together alone on chairs at the Vatican before the funeral. This is the first time these two have met since the shouting match in which J.D. Vance and President Trump humiliated the Ukraine president. And they are closer. After this meeting, President Trump began to raise critical issues about Putin, as if perhaps, the president suggested, he does not want a deal. Perhaps he does not want to end this war. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that's happening. The Ukrainian precious minerals
deal's about to be announced.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And it hasn't when we go on the air today, as far as I know. But there's other parts of this that seem to be moving in different directions, and that includes the president's insistence that Crimea, the territory of Crimea, be ceded to the Russians. And we'll see where that goes. How do the Ukraine people give away land after they've been invaded? Will it also freeze all of the land where the Russians have gone in and just freeze that, the land that has been invaded? We don't know the answer to all that. And what does Zelensky get out of it? Without going deep down the rabbit hole, no closer today than it was a week ago. But I think there are some signs of hope. But Putin may not be serious about all of this.
You used to work for, well, maybe I think you kind of still do occasionally, for Channel 4, right? That's WCCO television.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Okay, we're happy.
What a great life. It was so fantastic.
You don't have to suck up to the bosses.
It's great.
No, they don't care. And you were over the decades affiliated then with CBS, correct?
That is correct.
So do you have any remaining CBS Bobos? Because if you do, I'd like you to try to get an explanation for why your once proud network, and I think in this case the people who own it, the Paramount folks, have gone apparently belly up, fetal position on this, what should be easily dismissed Trump lawsuit against 60 Minutes. Has your network, the network of Edward R. Murrow, lost its gonads?
Walter Cronkite.
What has happened?
I was hoping you would not ask me this question.
I knew you didn't want to talk about it.
Because I'm going to be embarrassed by this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an amazing thing. Here's what's going on. Many of you, because it's the number one program in America, 60 Minutes, many of you may have seen at the end of 60 Minutes where Scott Pelley gave a 2-minute report on what is happening, because the executive producer of 60 Minutes has resigned, saying that the parent company, Paramount, is interfering. They're putting people in there to try to stop some work that they think should be done, try to interfere with the journalistic reporting of 60 Minutes. This is all stemming back to President Trump suing CBS, and I think he started at $20 billion, and now it's at $40 billion. Why not make it 258 like Pam Bondi? $258 billion.
Yes.
Because of what he says was a deceptively edited interview with Kamala Harris during the campaign.
It obviously got Harris elected.
Yeah, and he's right there.
Yeah,
and,
she won, didn't she? Oh, wait.
Yeah, victory will be my retribution, he said. Oh, wait, and a $20 billion lawsuit. So they're trying to interfere. But here's what's going on behind the scenes. Paramount is trying to merge with another company. They're trying to sell off CBS. They're trying to merge with Skydance, which is another company, and it's a huge deal. And President Trump has the ability to stop it. We'll just lift a finger, Justice Department would come in, and that's what's happening there, according to the people who work at 60 Minutes. So
Sherry Redstone.
Yeah, Sherry Redstone.
The company's controlling shareholder has said she favors settling the case, and it just so happens she is set to receive a major payday in the pending sale of Paramount to a Hollywood studio that you just named, Skydance, that only requires sign-off from the Trump administration. I'm not sitting here, I'm not naive to tell you that this is the first time in the history of America that these sorts of you scratch my back, I scratch yours mega deals have been done, but that it comes at the expense of, like I said, 60 Minutes, that distinguished investigative journalism show of how long now? Well, more than half a century,
years,
whatever it's been, is sad because that's who loses here. And I would say to an extent that means we all lose.
Well, in many ways, this is extortion, and something that I think that President Trump has tried to do with law firms, trying to pressure people in with the media, with universities, all of it. It's just to pressure people into this. It's as if somebody has come up to the heads of CBS and said, man, that is a beautiful network you got right there. That's really nice. It'd be a shame if something happened to that. I mean, that's almost the way this is.
Yes.
So I'm shocked and by what was happening, what CBS and 60 Minutes said on Sunday night, but I'm also very, very proud that they did that.
spoke up. You're right. It was at the end of the episode,
yeah,
correct?
Unlike most people, 60 Minutes is speaking up.
Kenneth,
so God bless you.
What is the frequency?
What's the frequency?
Remember the Dan Rather moment?
Okay, kids, look it up.
You have to look that one up.
And then there was a song written about it.
By REM, wasn't it? Yes, exactly
entitled,
right.
What's the Frequency?
What's the Frequency?
Kenneth.
Yeah, that's a callback. There's going to be a lot of callbacks on this show. I'm going to save the other callback for next segment. I do want to go local, at least for a bit. We have the news, I assume you would say not particularly surprising, that Angie Craig has jumped into the United States Senate race. Is that correct?
You are correct, sir.
No surprise.
No. I think people, kind of wanted. She had a completely safe seat. Second district, it's southern Minnesota, southern metro, and then some of the farm country down to Rochester. That is a purple district, and it was trending Trump and trending Republican, and there were a couple of really tough elections that she had, but she has won 4 elections in a row. The previous Republican, John Klein, highly regarded, the congressman, he won his last race by 17 points. She has gradually built it up into a safe district for Democrats, and she would have a pretty, I'm not going to say easy run because none of these runs are easy, but a comfortable run. She won the last election by 14 points, I believe. So she is jumping into the U.S. Senate race, and I think she's got she's got some legs in this. I mean, she has positioned herself in the Democratic Party of Minnesota as someone who is more of a centrist, more of a moderate.
Right.
She's one of the people one of the few Democrats who voted for the immigration crackdown in Congress. She's one of the very first to call for Joe Biden to step down from the race. So she can appeal to other people. Interestingly, she has been holding town halls around Minnesota in the districts of Republican congressmen and women in Minnesota who have not done it themselves. So she goes to these places. So she can be controversial. I think she is somebody who can reach out beyond the Democratic Party. So, yeah, I think she's got a pretty good shot.
So who else? Peggy Flanagan is already in. You remind us that your guy, Al Franken, has already endorsed her. What about the governor? Is the governor going to step in on this one?
Where's Governor Walz?
Well, he's busy campaigning for
all
president
around the country.
28.
Well, he's got a race of his own coming up. So here we go, right?
He's in.
So Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, I agree with you. I think he'll be running for governor. It's a good launching spot for governor for president. So Flanagan is in the race. They've been famously at odds over the years. She's more progressive than he is, and he's pretty progressive.
Yeah.
But she's more progressive than he is. And interestingly, Al Franken has endorsed Flanagan.
Why doesn't Franken jump in?
We asked him.
Is there any talk about that?
We asked him that.
Yeah.
He's not interested. He said he's not interested. He's probably making more money now.
Well, yeah, but he likes power.
Let's talk about where we are.
Right.
Should he have been run out of the Senate?
We've talked about that before. No, it was a kangaroo court. But it was fellow Democrats that cooked him.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what's happening now.
Yeah.
And look at the standards. So Angie Craig has received the endorsement of Dean Phillips.
Dean Phillips, okay.
And David Wellstone, interestingly, the son of Paul Wellstone, who had toyed with the idea of running himself. So I think the Democratic primary in the Republican or in the fall for the U.S. Senate is going to be pretty good.
And you also suggest that if Craig running for Senate means her 2nd District House seat opens up, and that you fully expect the Republicans to not only target it, but to have a legitimate chance of flipping it, correct?
I think they do. As I said, Angie Craig has been someone who has made that district stronger and stronger Democratic. And she won by 14 points, but with her out of the race, I think you're going to see Republicans jump in with both feet, lots of money, and figure out a way to win that race. So, yeah, I think she makes it less likely that the Democrats can win, but I think it's still an okay Democratic seat right now.
So we talked last week, I think, about the fact that the Trump approval numbers were pretty bad for this early. But what we didn't talk about, and it's worth mentioning too, is that most of the polls I've seen indicate that the Democratic Party numbers are even worse. So are we just in a mood where we're down on everybody? Or what does this say? Because usually the way it's supposed to work is, well, if the incumbent already is underwater because of the tariff stuff or whatever, then and potentially the economy, although I saw today he said whatever's going on with the economy, it's Biden's fault. It has nothing to do with me and nothing to do with tariffs.
Yeah.
Tariffs have nothing to do with it.
It's all Biden.
It's all Biden.
He left me this.
Yes, that's exactly what he said. So the Democrats are even more underwater. So what does this tell us about the current political climate?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that I think President Trump has squandered what could have been an incredible opportunity to caretake the economy he was given, because it was a good economy, low unemployment. The stock market was on a tear. A lot of things happening. Bond market's great. And President Trump, I think, squandered it with some of the stuff he did with the tariffs. He also has alienated some folks with his immigration. As I say, he could have claimed victory on some stuff and then didn't. So now he's underwater, but he didn't need to be. And he might recover, but he's lower than any president in the last 80 years except one, and that's Trump's first term. Democrats, we don't know where they're going. They're going in so many different directions, and I think approval ratings for Democrats, I think, are lower than President Trump's. I think they're in the 30s. Yeah. And they don't have a clear leader. A lot of people are kind of walking in the wilderness trying to figure out where you go. But there is no clear message from Democrats. So I think we don't know, unless it's Trump, and he's kind of freezing people out because he's now selling the Trump 28 merch. So he's freezing out other people. What if he tries it? You never know. But you're getting to a point where we're not going to know who the nominee is for the Democrats. I don't think that person is even on the scene at this moment. All these people trying, we don't know who it is.
Do we anticipate soon a seminal showdown at the Supreme Court where we'll get the ultimate determination on whether this administration will ever listen to, respect the highest court in the land's decision? Is there a case still coming up where we're going to at least it's going to be crystallized more than it is to this point? Is that 6 months off? Is that 2 weeks off? What do we know about that?
There are many cases that are coming. We've discussed before that the president is throwing 100 different cases, 100 different things that people are saying are unconstitutional. And what if 75 of them are going to be declared null and void? They're unconstitutional. Well, what if 25 stick? And what of those 25 are going to be the big ones? I mean, we've got birthright citizenship, granting citizenship to people who are born in the United States, even if they're babies of immigrants who are undocumented. That's going to go before the Supreme Court. If it's a pure constitutional issue, will this conservative Supreme Court side with Trump? I think that's where there will be some disagreement. But what if it's on the authority of the president? What if it's on the authority you must obey a lower court and bring this dude back from El Salvador? What if it's that? Donald Trump, as recently as last night in the ABC News interview, said
that
a number
went well,
of times.
by the way.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
look that one up. That
was Terry Moran.
That was
correct?
Terry Moran. Yeah, it was, and I thought he was pretty straightforward.
I did too.
He was just, and when he fact checked him,
the Photoshop thing he never bought. He never acknowledged the possibility of the photoshopping of the gang symbols on the wrist of
Garcia.
Yeah, Garcia.
Yeah, and that they were photoshopped on for purposes of illustration, and the president said, "No, look, it says MS-13." But beyond that, when he's challenged, what I thought was almost humorous at this point, where he says to Terry Moran, when he challenged him, "Well, you can't do that. I picked you to do this interview. I don't even know who you are. I didn't even know who you are.
So, and you're not doing a very good job
with it. We're doing you a favor.
Yeah,
this is a great platform for you, and look what you're doing to me.
You're blowing it.
Yeah,
You're blowing your opportunity, kid.
I might walk out of here.
Yeah, right.
God, that was just...
we're going to get to those stats you have, by the way, of how often the president has spoken. We need to get a break, though.
Yes, sir.
Also, when we come back, I do want to talk about a significant anniversary that has great historic implications. A lot of the kids might not know it, but believe me, if you care about history and you have respect for history, it's a big one. We'll discuss that and much more with Special K when we return. You're a newspaper collector.
I am.
And you brought today a very protected, in the cellophane newspaper from 50 years ago today, right? Or would it be 50 years ago yesterday?
April 30th.
Today.
1975.
1975. That's 50 years ago.
Think about it.
I can even do that math.
I was 30 years old.
So why this newspaper? What is the headline? What is the big headline in this edition of the Minneapolis Tribune?
The headline in huge font says, Saigon surrenders. U.S. evacuates first Americans.
Who is Saigon?
That's what the kids want to know.
Probably, yeah.
The kids want to know.
Who the hell is this Saigon guy?
So Saigon was the capital of South Vietnam. This signified the ending of the Vietnam War. This was an incredible time in our history. Kids, just go look it up. The Vietnam War.
Would you call it polarizing?
It was beyond polarizing.
Would you call it divisive? I still say divisive, but it's supposed to sound better to say divisive.
Even that,
yes.
Because this ended, I think, a decade of the most tumultuous, violent, chaotic, dysfunctional period of American history.
4 dead in Ohio.
And I'm talking about even today. If people think this is crazy, go back to John F. Kennedy assassinated, riots in the street over the Vietnam War, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King.
The end of the Lyndon Baines Johnson presidency.
Unbelievable. All of this was happening in a very chaotic atmosphere. And meanwhile, there were thousands and thousands of Americans dying every week in Vietnam. And I'm going to pull this number out of the air, but I'm going to say 10,000 soldiers a week were dying. Think about if we lose one soldier nowadays, there were hundreds dying every week in the rice paddies of South Vietnam. So finally, they had to end this war. I mean, it was a terrible thing. It is now Ho Chi Minh City, and they celebrated the American War is what they talk about, the American War. A lot of people believe, and they're not wrong, that America, the United States, capitulated. And this was a very, very difficult time in America, in American politics, that we still feel today.
Fair to say, the only group of U.S. veterans that felt largely at the time when they came back nothing but scorn, to the point where decades later there have been efforts to kind of change the narrative because, in effect, individual grunts were being blamed for the policy, right? The policy of escalation in Vietnam and attempting to try to win that war. We occasionally would hear from those veterans when the late, great Colonel David Hackworth used to be on this program, a guy who served in Vietnam and, by the way, was vocal ultimately about his belief that it was a losing proposition. We were not prosecuting that war correctly, and if that was the way we were going to prosecute it, we needed to stand up. He, in fact, for a while had Joe Califano as his attorney because there are various military parts of the military trying to come after him to basically shut him up because of how vocal he was about saying we were on the wrong road. The layers to this, as you say, well, entire books, encyclopedias have been written on this chapter to this day.
And let's talk about that one thing. It was a shameful period of American history when these soldiers came home and they were spat on. They were ridiculed and mocked in coming home from Vietnam in their military uniforms. And then many of them ended up homeless, without health care, drug addicts, and they struggled for a long, long time. And I think, to our credit, we are recognizing that now, and thank God we are treating veterans in a much better way. But that was a time where America could have been better, both overseas and at home. And it's a shameful episode for the country that I think could have and should have been handled differently.
It's fair to say it's a long time, 50 years, but a lot of the pathways that we're still on to this day, in part, was shaped, politically speaking, by what took place then. Already a texter has said, my dad was spit on when he came back from Vietnam.
Shameful.
Somebody saw a thing yesterday. Apparently the draft was on TV like a lottery, and if your birthday came up, you were going.
I remember.
Not only do I remember that my lottery number.
Remember your number?
44.
110. I was 110.
Which meant that I was going, but my year was the first year in which the lottery, they did not use the draft. I literally would have, that's the kind of number where you were definitely going to go. I remember it like yesterday.
Because, let's put that all in context, because American men were being drafted, young men,
yes,
against their will, and most of them, the vast majority, went. And these are grunts. These are just regular people. They're the sons of plumbers and engineers, and construction workers and farmers. They weren't the sons of real estate executives and doctors and lawyers. So they were mostly just regular people. And we all sat around waiting for this. And I don't remember. Do you remember how high it went if you got, I was 110. And as I remember, I was just out of it.
Yeah.
So it was either, they drafted everybody up to 75 or 100. And it was crazy.
All I know is my parents were terrified because you're going. But it just so happened that may have been the first year where they did not automatically bring people in and then ultimately the draft went away, period, right? Where it was a volunteer. Now we're a volunteer army.
And then across the country, there were college campuses erupted in chaos and violence, including at Kent State University, as you mentioned, on May 4th. Of 1971, I believe. Might have been 1970.
70, I think.
1970?
Yeah.
And that is memorialized when 4 National Guardsmen shot and killed 4 protesters. college kids. And that's the song that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young wrote.
Four Dead in Ohio. How many mythic motion pictures have been made on one tentacle or another of the Vietnam era experience?
Incredibly. And many of them in the United States were made from the point of view of the Americans, of course, but how bad the soldiers had it and what they had to go through, both when they were there in the you-know-what, as they say in the military, and when they came home and how they were treated here. Now, by contrast, if I might, just
go ahead,
one more thing. So we are asking young people, hey, look it up. Go on the Google. Go find it. Go find what happened. In Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City, formerly Saigon, which Saigon surrendered, there were tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people in the street. They had a boisterous parade, soldiers, dancers, speeches commemorating this great event that they called victory in the American War. So two different things. One of the most haunting movies I think I've ever seen.
De Niro, Streep,
oh my God,
among others. The Oliver Stone film was Platoon, or one of them. That was
the Tom Cruise movie, Born on the 4th of July.
Born on the 4th of July.
I mean, all of it.
Correct. There's a lot of depth in many of those motion pictures. Different people have favorites. So in any case, we've learned before there's youngsters in our audience who do care about history, and that they like us when they like it when we go down this road. Because it's hard, I think, given it's 50 years, for a lot of people to relate. And it's not their fault, right? It's just that they were too young to have any sense of, because, we talk about this all the time. We have recency bias where we always think the world's about to come to an end. That. And you can use it. And yet we learn, you go back decades, certainly to the 60s, it was rather tumultuous in a number of ways, whether you're talking about assassination, you're talking about the Vietnam War, you're talking about the Civil Rights era. I mean, you want to talk about tumultuous? I put that in today's context with all the social media stuff we had. Twitter would explode with the stuff that we were dealing with.
No social media, of course, back then.
Right.
But one of the things, people come up to me every once in a while and they ask me, and I'm not making this up, they come up to me at a restaurant, me and my wife or wherever we are, and somebody will say, do you think it's going to be okay? And I always think people think that nowadays with the political climate we have with President Trump and the Democrats and all the confusion and chaos that we have now, it doesn't really compare to the 12 years from 1963 to 1975.
No, it doesn't.
Where there was actually murder and violence and resignations and war and death. So doesn't compare. Not saying this isn't important, because I think this is the most important thing we're dealing with right now as we're 100 days into the Trump administration. Can you believe that, by the way?
100 days?
We're only 100 days.
You sure it's not 1,000?
4,000. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing. So I know people's hair is on fire and clutching of pearls and fainting couches, all of that. But let's just watch this play out and figure it out.
The Killing Fields came out in 1984, the story of a Cambodian-American photographer named Dith Pran, a hell of a motion picture. Now, that dealt with, he was a refugee and survivor of the Cambodian genocide, but it was all connected.
Everything,
An outstanding, tense motion picture. Highly recommended.
And the soldiers from Laos and Cambodia and the Hmong, who are now living among us here in the Twin Cities. Many of them came to settle here, who were also heroes of the war and would have been murdered had they stayed behind. Right. Much like we have Afghanistan interpreters and Iraqi and Iranian ones. And so the same thing is happening. History's repeating itself.
Thank you for coming in. As always, we appreciate it.
All right.
Are you going to be back next week, as far as you know?
If I'm invited, and that's always an open question. What's the vote?
Oh, there's a lot. It's very
tenuous. Just got a brand new key card.
Is that true?
I did.
That's all. What's that all about?
Well, I needed
That's presumptuous.
He broke his last one.
How do you break your key card?
How do you vandalize a swimming pool? said
you
Tony
sold
Soprano.
your
I
other
sold
one, didn't
it,
you?
yeah.
That's what you did.
To the guests
We're going to have a security breach.
To the guests that we have in our studio.
Well, that could be. That's even more dangerous. Thank you. We'll wrap things up with Pat Kessler and get to a couple of texts next here in the Fan.
Show Wrap is presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the bumper-to-bumper Show Wrap.
Very eclectic series of conversations today, including Johnny Athletic from Los Angeles, California, where the Wolves will try to put the Lakers out of their misery tonight in game number 5. A game you can hear on the Fan, correct?
Yes.
It's got to be on the flagship today because there's no wild hockey. What time's our opening kickoff tonight? Do you know?
I mean, 9-ish.
And it might be moved a little bit depending on the game before it.
Golden State, Houston.
Johnny was with us at 4. Kessler, you just heard from, 5:30 to about 6:15, 6:20. And then Wes Walls joined to talk some hockey, react to the Wild's loss last night. Game 6, of course, will be tomorrow night, also on the Fan. Should remind you that Max and Parker Fox are on tonight at 7, right? Is that correct?
That's the plan.
To help also
according to my schedule.
The pregame to the pregame, Minnesota Wild, I should say Minnesota Timberwolves related. Tomorrow will be an Aaron Gleeman day. We will acknowledge the hottest team in baseball. And also, I'm sure, because he's such a Wolves rube, talk some Wolves stuff. Dr. Dan's Inbox will be brought back tomorrow. We may work on a couple of other things as well. That'll be tomorrow's show. Did you say we're out early tomorrow?
We should be
6:15, you think?
Yes, at 6:15 tomorrow.
First time we've been out early in
months.
Years, it feels like, isn't it?
Months.
Been a long
That's why
time.
I sound like this. We've been working too many days.
So,
too many extra half hours.
Do you want to make a prediction for Game 5 tonight, Wolves? This doesn't mean, by the way, if you pick the Wolves that you're taking any of it for granted. You're allowed to still pick it, be right or wrong.
I have a weird feeling that they're going to end the series tonight. I can't base it on anything. Besides
something in your gut.
Well, since game 2, I've felt like the Wolves are the better team.
Yeah, I felt that all. Well, I equivocated a little more to say I don't understand why this is viewed as a blowout in front of the Lakers. The Wolves have been the better team for the last quarter of the season, for sure. So we'll see.
I think we're going to be mature tonight. I think we're going to be responsible tonight. I think we're going to be ready to go tonight. And we'll see. We'll see how. What I'm most curious in is, LeBron's going to come out. And by the way, he's already gone. There's a viral video of him going 2 for 2 in half-court shots in pregame warm-up. So everybody's saying he's on one tonight. But he's going to have his chest puffed out. He's going to be moving fast early. You're going to have to handle a few onslaughts tonight.
Yeah, for sure. But they might be.
And I'm curious to see how we do.
There is actually tonight, I think, more pressure on the Lakers and the Wolves. I remember my dad telling me about how he cried when Kent State happened. I was born in 1967, now live in Austin, Texas. Speaking of old LBJ, lost a cousin in 1968, 2 weeks before he was to come home and meet his daughter for the first time.
Jeez.
Studied the war in college, still a big part of my life. For the kids, the Ken Burns series on Vietnam is a good way to get up to speed. It is. If you don't want to read and you'd rather watch, it is extremely well done. There are a lot of other options which we can talk about as well. Peter from Stillwater. Dan, I'm a shark at times and a jet at times, but I always learn something when you and Special K are on. Thank you. Thank you for the support, Pete from Stillwater. We appreciate that very, very much. So we've kind of set it up for tomorrow. A lot of reaction to the Wolves, and then we'll preview the game the Wild have to get if this series is going to reach 7 games. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Fan and the Man in the Air. And then pregame to the pregame with Max and Parker Fox at 7. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 o'clock right here on the Fan.
Come fourth quarter, bring it to the ticket.
Pull up your drawers. Pull up your drawers, my man.
I'll be there. Change the space. Be happy. Enjoy it.
I'll be around.
Believe.